welcome back to another episode of Popcorn Heroes.
Yeah.
With me, as always, is Pedro.
Hello.
And I'm your host, Orlando, for this podcast. All right, so
Nice.
Today we're going to be reviewing Suicide Squad. Or The Suicide Squad?
The Suicide Squad, yep.
The Suicide Squad. A DC film, also in theaters and on HBO Max. So like always, we're going to give a quick premise of the movie, and then we're going to jump into our spoiler-free thoughts, and then we're going to dive right into our spoilers.
All right.
Pedro, take it away with the premise.
All right. So, the premise takes place in the DC world, where Superman and Batman are a thing, but this follows a group of supervillains that have been imprisoned, and they are recruited into a Black Ops team that if they complete the mission, they get time off their sentence. So, as the title suggests, they get thrown into these ridiculous missions that most likely involve them getting killed. Ergo, Suicide Squad. So it pretty much follows them getting thrown into an island to stop a secret experiment in the island, and chaos ensues.
Right. All right, it's pretty
That's
premise. So now we're going to our spoiler-free thoughts. I'll start first. So I would give this film 3 out of 5. I really liked it.
A solid 3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I know I really liked it as a 4, but I liked it overall. Leaning towards I really like it. For me, like I said, it's the same things I always complain about. Superhero movies and the same setup, stuff like that, and not being impressed with fight scenes, stuff like that. But this movie had a lot of humor in it, and I think for the most part it delivered. I think it didn't take itself too seriously, which is great. I like how expendable everybody is in a way. Not to
Right.
get into sport territory, but I did like how it lived up to the Suicide Squad name. A little bit of the typical story, but overall I thought for the most part the writing is what held it together.
Cool. For me, I agree with a good chunk of what you said, but I give it higher. I give it a 4. I actually really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it, because we reviewed the first one and we were pretty disappointed with the first Suicide Squad because it wasn't what it promised to be. Now this one, on the other hand, was a total revamp, still a sequel, but a complete revamp, and it definitely did what it said that it was going to do. It was funny, it was gory, and like you said, members were very expendable, so we got what we wanted out of it. And I actually did enjoy a lot of the action scenes. I like that a lot of the members got their chance to shine and had some really good scenes. The chemistry between them was actually very good compared to the first one, where they kind of got forced into some character moments that didn't really fly for me. Like maybe there was a bar scene in the first one that was kind of okay, and we wanted more of that, but we didn't. So this one, you get plenty of moments like that, plenty of downtime between the action and the outrageous scenes, and which was what I felt was missing in the first one. So they gave me everything that I wanted in a Suicide Squad movie, which is why I liked it so much. And it didn't feel, even though Harley Quinn was in it, it didn't feel like a Harley Quinn movie. We talked about Birds of Prey, that was also supposed to be an ensemble cast, but when you watch it, it's just Harley Quinn and friends rather than Birds of Prey. And in this one, it was more of a team thing. And obviously, it's James Gunn doing this, and he's done team movies before with his Guardians. So I'm glad that he kept it going. He kept that everyone was able to carry this movie pretty much equally. So
Yeah,
but yeah, overall everything I wanted out of it.
yeah, I agree with that statement being that it's not a Harley Quinn movie. It's definitely not. You would think it would be. You think she would have more screen time, but I mean, she has just as much as anybody else. I would say in the movie.
Yeah.
She has a bit more than some people, but for the most part, everyone's allowed to shine.
I would say Bloodsport had the most because for a while it seemed like the movie's through his point of view, but then once it shifts to the team aspect, everyone gets equal treatment.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think overall, it was a pretty solid movie, and I really enjoyed it. All right, so if you haven't watched this movie yet, once again, we brought this up during our what's that movie with Scarlett Johansson? Black Widow.
Oh, Black Widow.
Right, so we brought this up. This movie is on streaming services. It's on HBO Max and is in movie theaters. Pedro, I know you saw it at theaters in the theaters, and once again, I did not watch it in theaters. I streamed it. So we have a different perspective of watching movies currently in this current climax. So how do you feel? Said climax. It's climate. Sorry,
climate.
I had to correct myself.
I was gonna correct you, but I was waiting for you to continue your sentence.
I was like, in this current climax. No one's climaxing here. All right. So yeah, in this current climax.
I hope not.
Yeah, no. We're just all over the place. So it is.
It just be all over the place.
So.
Like this sentence.
Yeah. So in the current state of the world and the affairs. You saw it in the movie theaters. I saw it at home. Tell me about your experience in the movie theaters. I want to ask you a question. Are movie theaters back in general before we start?
Yes. It depends on the movie, of course, because I watched Green Knight and that shit was dead fucking empty. But I watched this one and it was every single seat like packed.
Right.
So yeah, they're back. It just depends on the movie, but for the most part, they are.
All right, cool. So yeah, so then I guess, man, how was it? Like, do you think this movie is, we always do, is it worth it? But I want to ask you, is this movie worth going to the theaters for?
I think so. So this one, I watched this one in IMAX, and I know I saw Black Widow on IMAX as well, and I had mentioned to you that there were some scenes where you can tell it was the widescreen look, like normal, and then when it cut to action scenes, that's where it blew up into IMAX. In this one, you didn't have that. This one, the entire movie was filmed IMAX. So the screen was huge the entire time. And so normally, I go to the Pines IMAX, and I've noticed normally their sound isn't as intense as the Dolby. But I don't know what it was about this movie, but that shit almost busted my fucking eardrums how loud it was. So I felt like I got the IMAX and the Dolby in one. So in those action scenes, which there were plenty of, I was like, holy shit, this feels like intense. And with the huge screen, it just added to it. So this movie, just because it has so much visually to offer that way, I feel it's worth watching it in theaters.
Yeah, I saw it at home on my TV. And I haven't been to the movies for over a year.
Really?
And I've been itching to go back. And there are some colorful scenes in this movie that really stand out. There's a couple of CGI moments that really stand out. And I complain a lot about fighting scenes, but technically I haven't seen an actual fighting scene in the movie theaters in over a year. So I've been complaining a lot about superhero movies. Like that's been my current trope. Is to feel like they're not satisfying me as much. But I haven't actually sat down in movies since early 2020
to see if it's
so it could be that I'm so far removed from that experience that I'm not appreciating it for what it's worth.
Maybe.
So,
but you could also just have superhero fatigue.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at. But I mean, like I said, like there was I when you said about like watching some of the fight scenes, there are some cool fight scenes that I was just like, oh, I like how this is filmed, or I like how this is it.
It was a very colorful movie too. It wasn't bland like the first one. First one was very muted tones. Even the costumes were very muted. But in this one, everyone pops. Like even Flag, who had tactical gear in the first one. In this one, he's got a big fucking loud yellow shirt. You know, like everyone pops. Like the characters, you could tell who's who. Like boom, from peripheral, it's quick. And
I think that might have, you know, I gotta go back to see like a big event, a big blockbuster event.
Shang-Chi. I mean, I know it's back to capes, and I know you're saying that you have superhero fatigue, but Shang-Chi's coming up, so
yeah.
And that one's only going to be in theaters. Apparently, it's not going to be on Disney Plus.
Oh, so they're removing they're going to start removing Disney movies. I mean, Marvel movies.
Yeah, the director or someone, they said at one point we have to plant the flag or press down and go, this is enough. And I guess this was the movie where they said this is it. So I guess we'll see. So ScarJo must be punching the air right now. Just.
She's like,
you couldn't do that for me.
She's like, if only I could play a Chinese woman, I could have got my millions. If only I could have been Chinese for this movie.
Again, if only I could have played an Asian woman again.
Yes, if only I could be an Asian woman one more time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Yeah. So, I mean, I recommend it to watch this movie either way. Honestly, if you're still you know, worried about being in crowded theaters, how about maybe you could wait until like towards the end of the movie cycle, that then you can watch it in like less crowded theaters. And yeah. But I do recommend watching it. I think you should definitely watch it however you feel most comfortable, whether it be on HBO Max or in theaters.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into our spoilers. Our spoiler review. All right, guys. So just letting you know, spoilers ahead.
All right.
Alrighty.
So, all right, I'll get started.
Okay.
So, I loved the beginning. Right from the get-go, you know, you get the nice slow introduction of all the members, and they're all really ridiculous-looking members. And, you know, you get Weasel, you get Javelin, you get, like, all these fucking wackos, and you're like, what in the hell? And you're expecting... I mean, a lot of people have seen the trailer, so you already kind of deduced, based on screen time, who makes it and who doesn't. But if you went into the movie completely in the dark, you would have been like, whoa, okay, these are the guys that I'm going to follow the whole fucking movie. And then when that opening happens, and everyone just gets absolutely fucking destroyed... You're just like, whoa! And then the guy that you expect is going to be the badass, which is essentially Merle Yondu, just runs away like a little bitch and gets his head blown off. You're just like, whoa. And then when his blood shows Warner Brothers Presents, you're just like, what the fuck am I watching? You know, it's kind of like a, what the hell did I just get myself into moment?
Right.
And I love that. It was, what's the word that we like to use for Last Jedi?
It's subverted our expectations.
There you go. So the phrase, this movie was very subversive, and it subverted expectations big time. Because even though you're saying it's a typical superhero movie, it definitely has its tropes, 100%. But in the case of this intro, it threw all of it out the window. This was the Luke Skywalker tossing the lightsaber moment of like, oh, you think this is your team? Ha ha ha, they're dead, you know? So, obviously it was people we didn't care about, so there was no fallout for it, but it's still I mean, some people did like Captain Boomerang, which was pretty ballsy, I gotta say, that they killed him right in the beginning.
Right, I mean, it's funny because out of the Suicide Squad, he's next to Rick... What is it? What's his name?
Yeah, Rick Flag, Boomerang, and Harley Quinn.
I was gonna say Ric Flair. Next to Rick
Flair. Woo!
I was like, Ric Flair? That's not right. I was about to say it. I was like, I know that's not right. Next to Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, and Boomerang is like the next. I would say the next noticeable character. He was in Suicide Squad. Then he was in Birds of Prey. As in the poster, I think. Remember where he was like, "Oh, I know
Who
that
was?
Boomerang." Like,
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was like a mugshot. Yep.
a mugshot, yeah.
A mugshot.
A mugshot. So there's like a lot of references to him. Like he's pretty consistent in the DCU, if you wanna say.
DCEU. Remember, it's extended. They made that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's pretty consistent in the movie. So it's surprising that they would kill him off. And out of that gang, it seemed like he had decent powers. You know.
I mean, he was chucking a boomerang that's like a lightsaber that was like chopping through people. It was pretty cool visually, but yeah.
I mean, but compared to the rest of the gang, that was literally the guy who can like detach his arms.
Oh man, I love that. And I especially love that it was Nathan Fillion. So it's just like they picked him to be the most ridiculous character, and all of these characters are actually real characters from DC, except maybe Weasel. I was reading somewhere that Weasel is it's an actual comic strip character that he's supposed to be like the illegitimate child of Garfield. It's something really fucking bizarre, like a Looney Tunes looking character.
Yeah.
And he just made a disgusting live action form of it. So he's not actually from DC, but he's still from a comic technically. So yeah, all of these people are actually from comics, and yeah, fucking taking them out so quickly and starting it up, and then realizing they were just a distraction for the other team was pretty brilliant, because they don't mention this, but I'm assuming that Amanda Waller, the one that leads the team through the comms, you would assume that she knew that they were all gonna get wiped out, and that this guy like betrayed them and everything, and she probably just didn't lift a finger because it's like, oh well, whatever, you're gonna be the distraction anyway, so it doesn't matter. So in my mind, I just figured she knew all of it and she did it anyways because she's a bad bitch, you know, like, oh well, whatever, I'm gonna.
And she's also not sending like top tier talent if you think about it.
Right. It's kind of fucked up, though. The Flag is part of that cannon fodder team, but it just goes to show she just doesn't give a shit about anyone. She just wants to get the mission and call it a day.
Right, yeah. Because, like, I mean, you know, you can say what you want about the Suicide Squad, you know, the one that the movie follows, but they have some pretty talented group of characters. You know, Polka Dot, while, like, nervous and anxious, like, his powers are pretty badass, like...
They were, yeah.
Pretty strong. You know, the Rat Girl, like...
man, she was so overpowered.
Yeah.
When you thought about it at the end, you're like, she's the strongest one, easily. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Peacemaker and Bloodsport, who are pretty similar.
Yeah, which was one of the jokes.
Right. But still, like, they're like, it's definitely a powerhouse team. Compared to, like, you know, Harley obviously is a character that shines, but she just has what is it called?
She's just
like
chaos.
She's chaos, but the reason why she's always survives is she has plot armor.
Right.
She really doesn't have like that much. Well,
yeah, you've seen her fight, you've seen her do stuff, so she obviously has skills. But when you compare her to the other villains, it's like plot armor. Yeah, like Joker or like anyone in the Batman family, they're all plot armor. Like,
right. Compared to like the reason you're not dead is because you're likable at this point. So
right. Yeah, because you didn't get shot up at the beach. Like, they shot up everyone, but then to her they're like, "Oh, put your hands up." Oh, okay, you know. And then she got lucky that they like her. You know. Oh yes, you're an example to anti-American, and she's like, "Yeah, whatever." You know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was pretty interesting. Like her plot, like her character plot, where she gets captured and then she falls in love with the dictator, in a way. Yeah. You know, I did like the quickness of it all, of like how all of it how it unfolds, because it just shows how batshit crazy she is. You know, like.
Yep. And it's in extremes. It was like, hey, I'm gonna fuck your brains out, and then I'm gonna kill you. It's like two complete extremes, right? Just bam, bam, and you're like you mentioned, so quickly. You're like, what just happened?
Right. Yeah, and I think it just demonstrates just the like her, like the how unscrewed like her mind is, like in terms of just like who she is. Like she's just all over the place and like not really aware of like one minute she's this feels this way, the next minute she feels a different way. So
yeah. I also liked, so adding to that, her action sequence was one of the ones I liked, where she's shooting everyone up, you know, as she's breaking out. And then when she grabs her javelin, which is also a reoccurring thing, she needs to figure out what's the point of the javelin that it was entrusted to her, which is, you know, I mentioned in previous podcasts, whenever you introduce something that important, it needs to have a payoff, you know, the whole Chekhov's gun thing. So when that is introduced, I'm like, oh, there's going to be some use for this. And then, of course, she uses it to break out, and then it turns into like a funny little Disney princess thing where it's animated, and there's like animated birds tweeting around.
Right.
So it's kind of cool because you get a little moment of how everything looks inside her head, of like, oh, sunshine, rainbows, birds, and then, you know, and even the blood at one point as she's slicing them up, the blood starts turning into flowers and colors. So yeah, it's just a really good scene because you get to see her kick ass, but you also get to see how she sees it, which is like innocent in a way, in a weird way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even when she kills the dictator, she's kind of like, oh, I killed you, but I did it for good reasons. You know, I did it because you're gonna harm kids, and I can't have that. You know.
Right. And then she straight up goes, and you're prettier this way, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And
one of the things that I'm not sure if there's a like inside joke or some of a correlation, but you know, most movies that have like this kind of plot where they have to save the world from like impending doom, it's always like we need to save, you know, the world. Like that's usually like, oh, we need to save people, we need to save society. Like that's kind of like the line that's thrown out most of the time. And in this movie, it must have been like 3 or 4 times. They're just like, we gotta save these kids. They're hurting kids. And I don't know why, but I like drew like a line to James Gunn's firing of Marvel, because he was fired for like pedophile tweets in a way.
Yeah.
Like jokes.
Yeah. Weird dark pedo jokes. Yep.
Yeah. And not to get like off a tangent or like off topic, but I don't know why. Like I just saw that, like, why did they keep mentioning kids? I was like, is this a joke? Like I thought like he put that in as like a joke, like we gotta save these kids. Like I don't know. It was referenced like 3 or 4 times, like more than like it should be. You know? And in my opinion, it was like the phrase "kids" was mentioned so many times that like I'm just like, what the hell? Because usually, like I said, when you save the world, just like we just gotta save the world. You know, we gotta save people. And for them, it was just like kids. I'm just like, why do we keep talking about kids? So I don't
remember that. I remember it maybe mentioning once, obviously, when Harley was saying, "Oh, you know, you said about killing kids." But I mean, if it was mentioned more than that, I sincerely doubt there's any correlation. You probably just put it.
Yeah, I think maybe I just drew that line just because, like.
Yeah, you're like, wait, is he making fun of himself in a weird way? Or I definitely, even if they mentioned it multiple times, I wouldn't have took it that way. I guess not like that. No. Yeah,
I think I'm just thinking about like because his hiring of DC is from like a domino effect of like certain like, you know, events, you know. So I see that, and I cannot. I like you're directing this movie for a reason. So I draw.
Yeah, you're directing because yeah.
Yeah, so
they pretty much said, "Oh, Marvel dropped the ball. Well, we're gonna pick it up because you're successful." Right.
Yeah.
He would never. It's obvious this would never have been a thing if he didn't do those tweets in a weird way. If you think about that,
right?
Domino effect. But yeah.
But yeah, going back to the movie, how do you feel about Bloodsport and Peacemaker's like rivalry?
So even before that, introducing Bloodsport, I thought was really cool because he's introduced just cleaning gum off the floor, you know, doing all like the bullshit jail stuff. And so you don't really know how much of a badass he is. But then, of course, comes Waller doing the narrating of, you know, you put Superman in the hospital for shooting him and all that. And then it cuts to him visiting, or the daughter visiting him, and there's that. I thought it was pretty fucking funny. Their argument of like, where she's saying, "Oh, I got arrested because I got caught stealing a smartwatch, a TV watch or something they called it." And he's like, "Why the fuck are you gonna watch TV on your fucking phone?" And then he's pretty much mad at her for getting caught rather than doing the stealing. Like, hey, that's why you need a lookout guy. So it was just a funny look into how dysfunctional he is and they are, that it's like he's definitely not the typical dad, you know?
Right. Like so his mindset was like, why? Like, you're so stupid that you got caught. Like, I'm so ashamed of you that you got caught. Like, it was like that.
And exactly, I'm ashamed you got caught, period. And then I'm ashamed you got caught stealing something so fucking stupid like watching a goddamn TV on your watch, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, her comeback is pretty much saying, you know, you're never around, I did it for attention, you know, that type of stuff, right? Of like, be my fucking dad and stop, you know, being like that. Anyways, but I just thought it was a really cool character moment of just showing, this guy isn't well or whatever. But then, of course, that sets off where Waller uses her as leverage so that he can get on the mission. So now he's finally in the mission, because you assume before that there have been multiple missions, and he's turned it all down because he says, "I'll tell you again," turning it down. But then finally, I guess with her visit and her stealing the watch, that's when they got the leverage to use him. So now once he's in the mission, you start seeing him in his, you know, in his badassness. And then, of course, the rivalry with Peacemaker, or Piss Taker, like he calls him, is... They both have the same exact origin, you know, pretty much trained by their father to be a killer, perfect marksman, that type of shit. So when they're in that camp scene of taking everyone out, and it's just a dick measuring contest of who kills who in the cooler way, just them one-upping each other, just going, "Oh, that's pretty fucking cool," like that. I just thought that was so funny, because it's definitely dark comedy at its best. It was taking a page out of like Deadpool humor.
Yeah, for sure.
Just the whole, like, dropping the fan into the guy's bathtub so that he just gets electrocuted. Or even the guy that was sleeping and Peacemaker just starts, like, stabbing him repeatedly as he's walking up, like, nonchalant without even looking at him. Just little moments like that where you're just cracking up and you're like, oh, yeah, we're just laughing at people dying in all kinds of different ways. It was good. I thought it was a great dynamic because they are the same, but they're so different as well that you get to see them, like, you know, bump heads. So right. I thought it was a really good dynamic between them.
Yeah, it's interesting that because obviously, you know, Amanda Waller MO was to send them in to destroy like the U.S.'s involvement with this like starfish monster or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Peacemaker takes the side of like America, like we need to protect like America's image.
Yep.
And stuff, which is a weird thing because like he's arrested. He's part of he's a prisoner, right?
He is a prisoner because they open the bars when he comes out and gets with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I kill to make it, you know? So obviously the guy's not right in the head, and he's all about, you know, America. And he's going to be getting his spin-off show, so I guess we might see a little bit more of exactly how he got into prison or what the fuck is up with him. But obviously he's like ride or die for America. How he got into prison, I guess he just did vigilante shit, and then they're like, yo, you can't do that. But he's just like, yeah, whatever, it's for America type stuff. So we don't know too much about him, but
like it's just there really
you're in prison. Why would you be down for the country that imprisoned you is what you're thinking.
Right, like there is no incentive to like ride or die for this country. Like you're locked up for essentially should be like, I guess it has to be more than life. Like if she's knocking out 10 years for an assignment, you're clearly in prison for like life or more or whatever, you know?
Life is technically starting at 25. 25 years and up is considered life. So, yeah, they're definitely doing life because if, like you said, 10 years a mission, then...
Yeah, because that was her like incentive. Like, you do this and we knock off 10 years. So if you're in prison for if you're only knocking out 10 years and they're doing it...
But also,
like,
right.
You have to be in prison for like a double life or, you know, for a long time.
Some intense. So maybe he just killed a bunch of fucking people that he thought were terrorists or some shit, and he was just like, yeah, for America, and they're like, you're fucking psycho, and locked him up. So he doesn't seem like the guy that the type of guy that takes it personal, like, oh, you locked me up, fuck America. No, he's just like, yeah, whatever. When I'm out, I'll keep making this country safe. Like, just completely bonkers.
Right. That's true.
And I loved that it was John Cena, because it's, he's been doing comedy for a while. He started doing some serious roles that just weren't really working. Then when he did comedy, I was like, all right, you definitely have comedy chops, because it's a nice like juxtaposition of his like fucking body size and like the persona he had wrestling. So you see him as like maybe acting like a pansy, or like, oh, it's funny because it's like, wow, you wouldn't expect that. And in this one, they kind of mix the badassness with the comedy together, and then you completely turn him in the other side of a moral compass of like, whoa, this guy's crazy, which is also a 180 of his wrestling persona. So it just seems so not like him in every way, this character, that it's like, this is perfect. I think it was a perfect choice for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're right. He has been doing a lot of comedy roles as of recent, and I agree with you. I think when it comes to like wrestlers becoming actors, like he's never gonna reach The Rock's like level in terms of fame. I think.
I wouldn't say never, but it's not likely.
Yeah, not likely. And I think The Rock can do both. He can do comedy and he can play like a villain or a badass. And I think it's because he did it so well while he was wrestling. And I think John Cena doesn't really do it that way. Like when John Cena plays his character in wrestling, it's more than ever. You could tell that it's so beyond like fabricated,
For sure, yeah.
And I think and I think it doesn't translate well when he went into movies. But yeah, I agree with you. I think in comedy he definitely has a stride, because just the way he's built, he's fucking built like a fucking rock. So I just think that, and even like just like for some reason, like with The Rock, he's built, but then it kind of goes along with everything about him, like his head and like his like just his structure. But John Cena
just looks like a cookie cutter, all-American, super buff bodybuilder guy, like kind of like an Arnold body type,
Yeah, and it just for John Cena, it just looks weird. Like whenever I see him in general, he just looks. It doesn't. And maybe I just I don't see him that much on screen. I don't watch wrestling,
right?
So maybe I'm just not used to like the way he looks, but he just looks like a fucking Ken doll, like in general.
Yeah. That's what it essentially. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the scenes for Free Guy, but there's like a Ryan Reynolds buff. This is kind of like that, like a scene like that.
Yeah, he looks like that. Yeah.
Because he looks like that, there's a scene that had me fucking like I wasn't expecting, and I just started cracking up in the theater. Was where he comes out with his fucking tighty whitey underwear when they go to see what's going on in the woods, and he's just completely naked except for his underwear. That was just such a fun, like, whoa, what the fuck? Just like completely. Oh wait, well, there's nothing wrong with it. And then the whole tighty whities, and he's like, that's racist. It's just like such weird comedy in that whole scene that I thought for the most part. So going into the movie, I was like, oh, maybe James Gunn is gonna throw in some jokes that won't land. I think for the most part, they all hit for me, in my opinion. I don't think there was ever a joke that he threw in there for the joke purpose that made me go like, that wasn't, no. I think all of them hit pretty good, because he just has this weird dark sense of humor that I at least find really entertaining.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think for the most part, I think it landed. Most of the jokes landed. So yeah. Talking about some of the other characters, how did you feel about Polka Dot?
Polka Dot Man. I loved him. Comic wise, I didn't really know anything about him. He would come up as a joke in the new comics, because a lot of new comics now like to reference old shitty characters and kind of revamp them, but then mention how shitty they were. It's like a thing that they're doing now, like embracing their Z-list villains. So I heard about him, and I've seen him in other things, but seeing him here in a way that he still looks goofy, but at the same time make him super useful, and give him that weird thing of like vomiting polka dots and shit, I thought that was fucking bizarre as hell. And it was very James Gunn because first time I saw a James Gunn movie was when Slither came out, and that movie was really fucking weird. There's a lot of weird like creature effects of like faces swelling up like with aliens in them and shit. So when I saw Polka Dot, where he gets all that shit on his face, where he starts like morphing, I just immediately had like flashbacks of he's going back to like Slither days of like gross shit.
Right.
But I thought he was fucking hilarious. The weird relationship he had with his mom.
Yeah.
It was so good that you get to, just like how you're inside Harley's head momentarily for her Disney sequence, you're inside Polka Dot Man's head momentarily every time he envisions her to do something, Even sometimes, like, weirdly, like in the dance sequence that was also fucking hilarious, where he's just dancing around and having fun, and then he just imagines his mom is everyone, and that's where you see his face kind of looking a little like, getting awkward. And then, of course, the scene that I know you like, because I heard you laughing, and it was where Starro at the end, he's like, "That's your mother!" And it's just this, it's just the actress just, like all screaming and shit. It was so funny because they didn't CG a person. They just literally just filmed this woman there. So it looked even funny. It looked like Power Rangers level shit. It was so funny. It was just a great ongoing joke that also, also character moments. So the main team got really good character moments, and it definitely was, he had some too. So yeah, I just liked it. And the thing that he was kind of like suicidal too, where they're like, we're gonna die, and he's like, "Oh God, I hope we do." It's just the guy's clearly not right in the head. Like you could tell. I think he mentioned that his mom like experimented on him along with like other family members.
Yeah, he's the only one that made it.
Right. You're right. That's what it was. So yeah, it's just like that, completely dysfunctional, just like the rest of the team. I liked him. I liked him a lot. I was sad to see him go when he went out. I was like, oh man, oh well, fuck it. They're all suicide expendable anyways.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. I think my least favorite character, even though I would agree that she is the most powerful character, is Rat Girl, or I forgot her name.
Ratcatcher? Really? You would say that's your least favorite of the team?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess everybody was very funny, and everyone had like their thing, like their
shtick, right?
Yeah, and I guess for her,
she had hers though. She had her little Sebastian that's always waving, her little rat.
I think she was very out of all of the wacky characters, she was the most grounded.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what it is that like in a movie filled with like so many like crazy and wackiness, and she's kind of like, I just control rats and my dad died. It was very just like, okay.
If anything, Rick Flag is the most grounded, which is probably why they tried getting him. He didn't get that much screen time. He didn't get that much screen time. No, which is fine because I thought he was the least, my least favorite in the first movie, and he's also my least favorite here. But that being said, he's still more interesting than he was the first time. So they definitely improved him, but not enough.
Right. I would say he is the least interesting, from the group. But I would say Ratcatcher is second to last, I guess.
Ratcatcher 2. That's crazy. You're in like the vast minority because when you go to, the fucking internet, everyone is all team Ratcatcher. You're like, she's the heart and soul of the team, the moral compass of the team, innocent, blah blah blah, all that, which is all needed for the team dynamic.
I agree. I think like I said, I think out of all of them, she's the most like grounded, the most level-headed, the most like sensible. But out of appearance,
probably the only one you would hang out with outside because everyone else you're like, no.
Yeah.
Fuck no.
For sure. But I guess as a viewer just watching the movie, as like looking for entertainment, I'm laughing during Peacemaker scenes. I'm laughing during Bloodsport scenes. I'm laughing during Polka Dot scenes. And then I'm not really laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really like, and like the
right.
I'm not.
I'm trying to think. To be fair, she didn't have any joke scenes. It was more of her interacting with everyone, like where she's about to get eaten by King Shark. Yeah, and then her with her rat, the rat trying to be friendly and everyone being like, yo, is that rat waving?
Yeah.
So yeah, she wasn't necessarily a joke like deliverer. It was more of just, I'm just here for the ride type of thing.
Right, and I think that's what it is. I guess, and I guess for me, like, maybe superhero fatigue and whatever, everyone giving their origin stories of where they came from and how they got to the place. Yep. And like hers is like, my dad, he wanted, to make rats and, mind control them, and the world's a cruel place, but rats are fake. All right, man, I've seen Willard.
Yeah.
All right, I've seen Willard. I don't need to watch Willard 2. Like, like.
My dad died of a heroin overdose, and you're like, whoa, kid. Yeah. I did like, Armando had mentioned this before. He says that, we got into this whole weird tangent of, I think that James Gunn does comedy / action better than Taika Waititi. Because Taika, to me, does so much comedy that he doesn't give people their serious moments. Like in Ragnarok, there were so many moments we had mentioned before where it's supposed to be like, there's a sad moment and he doesn't even waste a beat. Immediately a joke. Like right in, and you're like, what the fuck? And even in Guardians, people had their sad moments. Like Rocket talking about his experiments. He lets it simmer and it stays sad. It doesn't go with Drax immediately going, ha ha ha, nothing. So he does it again with this one. She's doing her sob story about her life on the bus. And Armando was saying that he thought for sure Peacemaker, because there was a scene where you see Peacemaker look up. He was like, oh, Peacemaker's going to do a stupid joke, like a dick joke or something, and totally like ruin it. And then he didn't. He just sits there and kind of listens to it and just does the nod, and that's it. And then there's that quiet moment on the bus of them still getting to their location. And right. Her sad scene had a moment to like sit with you like, damn, okay. And then they do the whole, I'm going to get you out of here alive. All that right there, I'm like, fuck, James Gunn does comedy, drama way better than Taika. Like, by far, just because he gives people their moment. Like, I don't want to laugh every 5 seconds. It's okay if there's a moment without me laughing. It's okay, Taika.
I mean, with what's that Nazi movie he did?
Jojo Rabbit.
You don't think Jojo had some good like moments to reflect on like the terrors of Nazi Germany? I think so.
The only time, so spoiler alert for those that haven't seen Jojo, the only moment that made me go, oh, here we go, was obviously the moment with the mom.
Right.
But then I don't remember how fast it was, but it felt like that night he already forgot about it.
It was pretty quick. I'm not gonna lie. It was like, I think the next scene is like the Germans coming to his house that they're making jokes. They're like
something like Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. I don't think it was exactly that scene, but it was definitely something like that. But you know what I mean? It's just like, damn, can I be sad for like 2 minutes?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think all right. I agree that James Gunn is better at doing both. I think Taika is better overall at doing comedy.
That's fair. Yeah. It's just that when you tackle a certain subject or a certain moment that should be serious, Taika can't do it. Even in, I know we're on a Taika tangent, but I'm going to continue real quick. Even in The Mandalorian, remember we talked about it, The Mandalorian where homie gets killed?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, it's a sad moment. The very next episode after that cliffhanger is directed by Taika. And what does he do? Stormtroopers missing a shot and they're making fun of it. And I'm like, homie just died. Why can't we get a moment to mourn his death? Now we're laughing at Stormtroopers' terrible aiming. It's like, fuck you, Taika, dude. So time and time again he's done it. And he's doing Thor 4 and he says it's the most me script I've ever written. And I'm just like, God damn it.
He's definitely like a George Lucas kind of guy where, I mean, I would say he's better at this point because George Lucas.
Yeah. At this point.
He's definitely a guy that like writes the way he writes, but he needs like at least like one person. I think for overall, he nails most of what he does.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he nails everything he does. I agree with you. I think when it comes to like blending like a dramedy or like moments of sadness or moments of impactful moments, you're right. He doesn't let it. he doesn't have. He's like, I need to make a fart joke right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
awkward. Oh, okay.
yeah, and I agree with you. I for sure think he needs to let that kind of stuff just like sit there.
Anyways, I know that was a bit of tangent, but I know we mentioned Taika because he is in the movie. He's Ratcatcher 1, so it kind of like all swerved in a somewhat relatable thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty much just giving James Gunn a compliment of like he does a great job of mixing tone together in a great way. Yeah.
I agree. I think
Dave Filoni?
what's the other guy's name?
Feige?
John
Feige?
Favreau.
Oh, John Favreau. Yeah.
John Favreau, like, all of them. I think, they're all obviously like, if it was like a Mount Rushmore of like superhero movies, like those would be the guys on it. And I think out of like them, I think James Gunn, to me, I don't get excited for like his stuff, that's Guardians is to me the best he's ever done, and 2 was okay, and then this is like akin to Guardians 2, or maybe a bit better than Guardians 2. I think this is a bit better.
I say this is better than 2.
Right.
Yeah, this is better than 2.
So yeah, I mean, I give him his flowers, give him his dues. He's definitely a great director. I just, out of the Mount Rushmore of superhero directors, he's to me that's like fair. The bottom tier.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's get into the actual villain. We find out who the main villain is, and it's Starro the Conqueror, which I know you don't really know who that is. I don't know if you remember him from the animations like Justice League and all that.
Nope.
Oh.
Probably, but no.
Yeah. So the reason why it's pretty significant that he's there is because when Justice League first came out, back in Silver Age of Comics, when they first did their crossover comic, the first villain they fought was Starro the Conqueror, which is this giant fucking starfish that let out these tiny little starfishes that get to your face, and then bam, you're under its command, and it's all like one single organism, and like this dude, like Doctor Who mentioned, an extension of itself. So,
Doctor Who mentioned.
Yeah, because Thinker is the actor that played as Doctor Who at one point, but Peter Capaldi. Yeah,
the disrespect, like
Doctor Who. So I just love that. I love that it's like this is a Justice League level villain, and fuck that. We're gonna have my Z-list villain tier Suicide Squad run into it, and fuck it, let's see what happens, And I thought that was great, and that fuck was I gonna say? Oh yes, I loved the again going back to his Slither horror roots. There's that scene where they're inside and you're looking at the experiments, and you get to see the experiments that Doctor Who does on everyone, where it's like they still have the star on their face, and he's like dissecting them, like ripping it off just to see like what makes them tick. That's like that body horror level of shit that you see in Slither, and you're like, oh, there it is. There's that hard rated R going on, and I just thought that was pretty cool. Because there were a lot of moments where I kept forgetting what movie I was watching, and then when moments like that happen, I'm like, oh, yep, this is the hard R James Gunn shit that we were promised, which is great. So, but yeah, I love that when the star actually breaks out, it's just this huge fucking thing. This guy even references it, the kaiju. And it looks ridiculous and menacing at the same time. So you're like, I don't know whether to laugh or like, oh, okay, it's kind of like, looks silly, but I guess it's kind of cool. But it's like, it was just very weird. And I know that was kind of the gist. That's the point of it. And I really like that. Fun fact, actually, now that I mentioned the kaiju thing, the guy that's the not scientist, what am I talking about? The one that works under Waller, that's the one with the beard and the glasses, that we got a kaiju up in this bitch. He's actually the mocap model for King Shark. Because the dude's fucking huge. I thought that was kind of cool because I followed a couple of the actors, and they were showing a lot of behind the scenes, and I saw him running around with a mocap suit, and I'm like, oh, that's the fucker that was working under Waller. So I thought that was a cool little behind the scenes thing there. But we finally get to see Ratcatcher save the day, and we get to see what the fuck was the point of the whole javelin, which was like a real, the whole thing from the beginning,
Right.
the whole Chekhov's gun thing of like, this needs to be useful at one point. And that's when she finally gets it. That's the only thing strong enough to penetrate the eye, which is another really cool, visually stunning scene of like, wow, this is really beautiful and also really fucking gross at the same time.
Right.
And with just the rats floating and her floating in there, I thought it was a great scene of like beauty and horror, beauty and body horror, like all in the same thing, which is what James Gunn does best. So I just thought that was pretty badass, and essentially makes you think that she could have just saved the day completely. I was just checking my charge. I'm still good. And what did you think about them actually killing Brick Flag? Did you care? Not really. Shocking.
No, not really. I mean,
yeah.
like
Which is
really,
what Marvel will be doing, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, so it really doesn't matter at this point what they do or who they kill off or whatever, because their movies are just so all over the place. And I think at this point they should just say that. They should just be like, hey, these are all just standalones or whatever. I think the worst thing that they're doing is tying them. Honestly, at this point.
I think they're doing what you're saying. I don't think they're tying them anymore. Because think about it. You had Joker, that's out in its own thing. You have Robert Pattinson Batman coming out, which is also its own thing. And then you got this one that kind of ties in, but kind of doesn't. So, yeah, I feel that they're slowly going the direction that you just mentioned, where they're just like, you know what, fuck it. Creativity first, and then everything else after. The only one that's still dangling on to anything is Flash that's coming out.
Right, but there's nothing else. Like, I think there's obviously Aquaman 2 in the making.
Right, and there's Shazam 2, and then there's Black Adam.
Yeah, there's some stuff.
I think they're just going to mess around with things. Like, The Rock has so much power behind him now as far as, like, making movies. He wants Zack Snyder's universe to be a thing. And he's like, no, this needs to be a thing. So, who knows? Maybe his movie is going to push to tie in more into that one than any of the others. But you're right. At this point, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They've dropped the ball so much of like trying to tie them in, not trying to tie them in, and
let's be Marvel. Let's not be Marvel. Yeah.
It really is all over the place. And it kind of reminds me of what Lucasfilms did with like The Last Jedi and the fucking other one, the Skywalker, Rise Skywalker,
Force Awakens.
They started explaining shit like between movies and like, or they'll release articles of like, oh yeah, this will happen here or this happens here, and like the fuck.
That's what happens
matter.
when you don't plan out a universe. Like
it doesn't matter. Like,
Marvel planned their shit out, and Star Wars didn't, and look what happened, and DC didn't, and look what's happening. So it really doesn't matter, because like then like I said, you could literally, they could make another Suicide Squad movie and have a flag in it like, oh, this is before that mission, and that's it. That is it. That is all. They really could. Because this mission, the only thing they reference is that he shot Superman, and Harley is broken up with the Joker. That's it. Right. Which yes, someone mentioned an Easter egg that she has a tattoo in her back that in the first Suicide Squad you see that it says property of Joker, and if you look at the back tattoo you can tell that she tattooed over it and put property of no one, like as like a cover-up tat. So
right. But they're really like, okay, so from Suicide Squad to this Suicide Squad, it could be 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. It could be 6 years, 7 years. It doesn't matter. So they can literally make another Suicide Squad and bring back everybody again and be like, oh, this is before that time. They can put those characters in any time, because obviously the sequel movies to Shazam, Aquaman 2 and whatever, they're taking place almost probably immediately after those events. Right? But Suicide Squad literally could be like years.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, it could.
So it doesn't matter what they do in this movie. So, yeah.
Yeah. It surprised me they killed him off, because, I thought he was going to be till the end, but I didn't care. It just surprised me because I thought, oh, he's going to be one of the ones that survive, because he's a known face. the fact that they kill him, I'm like, oh, okay, he wasn't that interesting anyways. But then I found out that in the original run of the comics, he actually dies in like a building explosion, and the building is Jotunheim, which is the same building they were in when this happened. So I'm like, oh, so that's just a reference that he was always supposed to die in this mission. Okay, cool. I didn't know that because I didn't read that full run, but yeah, I thought for sure they killed Peacemaker till I saw that after credits, because I did know that James Gunn was doing a show. But I thought the show was a prequel at that point. I'm like, man, they killed this dude. Oh, it's a prequel of how he got arrested, origin, blah, 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 what we mentioned earlier. But I guess not. Now, when you look at the after credits, he's in the hospital, so he's going to get his own show. And apparently, Gunn is shooting for a season 2, so I guess we'll see how that goes. I don't really have that much of an interest in it, but the fact that it's James Gunn, and I really like this movie, and I like everything he's done so far, I'm up for the ride. I'm more intrigued than excited, so I'll be watching it day one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think in general, I don't keep up with that much DC stuff anyway. I don't keep up with like the shows or the movies too much. You know, I didn't watch the Harley Quinn show. I think Titans is back. So I mean, unless this gets like rave reviews, and this is like essentially like they say it's like must watch TV, then yeah, then maybe I'll be tuning in for it. But like I don't see myself like going back and watching it unless like it's highly like recommended.
Right.
So like, you know, it's just at this point with like there's just so much, like I think at this point like between Marvel and DC, I'm already more inclined to watch a Marvel show than a DC show. So unless this is getting like, hey, this is like much watched TV, or this changed the landscape of the DCU,
like rave reviews, right?
Yeah, like, you know, because I said Titans is out, Harley Quinn's out. I'm not watching any of that kind of stuff. And even though they're getting like decent reviews,
yeah,
I just don't really care for it.
Yeah, Titans I'll give a go and see what's up. But Harley Quinn I do recommend. It's funny. It's like Adult Swim type humor. I think you'll dig that one.
Yeah.
And that's the infamous one where Batman was supposed to go down on Catwoman, but they cut it. You know, that whole controversy.
Yeah, Batman doesn't have sex or oral sex, which is... Okay.
No, it was superheroes don't do that. So there you have it, ladies. Don't date a superhero. They don't reciprocate.
Right. That's so stupid.
Yeah, that was dumb. Like, what are you talking about? It said, and he went in deeper, saying that, oh, you can't sell like toys of people that do that. Some shit like you can't sell action figures of people that do that. I'm just like, doesn't make any sense.
You can though. I mean, it's such a weird thing. Like, it's such a weird thing with sex, at least in America, where sex is like the most common thing that people do, like the most natural thing you can do, and
right.
No one is. Pretty much everybody's here because of sex. Essentially, almost everybody. Right. So like, I don't understand the taboo of sex,
right?
Of, like in TV,
every other country will show something of any kind, and then we're like, "Whoa,
yeah,
you can show a decapitated head, you could show those guts, but don't you dare,
right?
Don't you dare."
It's so weird. And then the thing
if you show actually the rule is you cannot show an erect penis. Like obviously we saw a dick in this movie when the guy got shot, but God forbid the guy's a little excited, like whoa, NC-17, son,
It's very. I don't know. I just find that very strange in general. It's just like, not to get off a tangent into something else, but we have this weird culture where it's okay to show drugs and like and
everything except that. Yeah,
everything exactly. And like the thing is, like, we have so much terrible vices. You know what I'm saying? Like drinking alcohol like is something that like I've noticed that in TV or in general, it's becoming like a fun thing. Like. Like, you know, like there's like wine becoming really cool, and like, you know, like it's becoming such a cool thing, but it's like this is technically a drug that affects you. And then
I will say on the flip side, they've been removing smoking as like a
smoke, which has been happening for a while. But like,
and even in this movie, there's the scene where Bloodsport's talking about killing someone in one hit, and then he goes, you know, he asks for the smoke just so he can get close to him, and then he fucking headbutts him and kills him in one hit, and then he starts coughing. He's like, I don't smoke, and it's like, see, kids, Bloodsport is cool, and he doesn't smoke, so don't smoke, kids.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think like with smoking, whatever, like stuff like that. Yeah, they got away from it, but then we still show like harmful things to like like kids and media, whatever, and then like sex, especially between two consenting adults, is like the most natural thing that we can do as people, and we're like, oh no, we can't show like watching Spartacus and watching all those dicks. It was like, whoa, like we're actually showing dicks now.
Right, yeah. It's like, whoa, very risque, stars. What are you
exactly.
doing?
Not that you know what I'm saying, like, but still, like, not that I'm like looking for dicks in my movies, but I'm just saying, like, why are we shaming like that, like sex?
If HBO shows like 300 titties a show, then where's the equality? I get where you're going.
Where's the dick equality? And that's all I want. I just want some dick equality.
If you're nude, I'm nude. Everyone's nude. Just all right. That's a hell of a tangent we just did, but fuck it.
Yeah, let's wrap it up, shall we?
We're just continuing this now. All right.
Yes. So overall, yeah, man, good movie. Pretty solid. I think I'm interested to see what James. Obviously, it seems like James Gunn has been brought into the DC fold. With this, which is good. I think as far as directors in the DC EU, whatever, I think he's definitely needed. More people like him are definitely needed in that in that regard. So I'm interested to see what he does next.
Right.
And overall, I think this is one of the strongest films in the DC EU.
I agree. Definitely top tier of all the DC films they've had. Post Dark Knight trilogy is what. Whenever we mention DC films, that's kind of what we're talking about. Post Dark Knight, this is definitely one of the strongest ones. And I do agree. I'm also like, obviously they called him back and they said, "Hey, we need you on another DC project." And I don't think he's gonna do any of the big hitters. I don't think he's gonna touch Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. I don't think he's gonna touch any of that shit. I think he's gonna keep going like very weird. And one theory I saw online that was pretty cool is there's one called Dialed H for Hero. And the gist is that this guy goes into a phone booth, dials this fucking number, and then the phone booth gives him a random power. And he's just a random fucking hero. And it's just completely bonkers idea. I wouldn't even put it past it that he read that and he's like, hell yeah, let's do some weird shit. So right. I feel like that's the level of his humor.
I think since, what they've done with the DCEU at this point, Superman has been established, Batman has been established, Wonder Woman has been established, and like not just established in like Flash. one film. They've been established in several films at this point. So they have a tone, they have a character. Him working on those films would be like a different voice. Like it wouldn't go right unless they reboot those characters in different ways or whatever. Right. And I think the only person that he kind of fits is the Flash. Like if he would to helm Yeah, the Flash or Shazam, he only fits like that. As far as what he's known for, he only fits like those two characters, unless he
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, unless he really tries to like, I guess, challenge himself to do something more grounded and more serious. He's in the realm of like Flash, Shazam as those main characters if he wants to tackle those. But I don't see him doing that just because.
Yeah, I don't see him doing those.
Yeah, they're just already established, and then once you do something that's already not yours, you get judged upon it. Like I don't think he wants any of that. I think he wants to just sit in the realm of like, this is my shit, and I have. So,
and that's why they pretty much gave him this project. And I know you're saying that this is my shit, but he technically took Suicide Squad from David Ayer. But what did he do? He fucking lit it up within the first couple minutes. So yeah, he definitely made it its own. He's like, all right, this is everything you established. I'm gonna blow it all up and make it myself. So, and I don't see him doing that with any of the properties you mentioned. So, right, agreed. He'll do something else. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. So that ends our episode. Hope you like all our tangents and random shit we talked about. Let us know if you like the movie. Obviously, you can follow us on social media on Popcorn Heroes. And catch you next time on another episode of Popcorn Heroes.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys.